Welcome to Jump Shots from the Goal Line. I am your host, Jonathan Dugan, joined as always by Mr. Ben Crownover and Mr. John Henningsen. We are back this week after taking a week off last week. The sickness that's going around the world right now, that little flu, that little cold, whatever it is, definitely not COVID. Hit my household last week, so I was a little out of it. It is currently affecting Henny's household, but he's powering through it tonight. If you hear any kind of sniffles or coughs or anything like that, don't be alarmed. We are just fine on this side of the microphone. And obviously, we had the Thanksgiving holiday last week, so we were with our families enjoying that. So we decided to take a little week off, but we are back and better than ever. We have a bunch to talk through today, whether it's the World Cup, some hoops, some college football action, and even a little bit of NFL in there. We are going to bring it today. Outside of that, boys, how was your Thanksgiving holidays?
Good, man. Besides, bringing home this little bit of sickness, it's always good to see the family. No complaints there. It's always good to see everybody. And then, I could complain, but, then I just be out here complaining about family. And, the truth is we do love them. They can just drive you crazy. But nothing too exciting on my side, so I'll just scoot on out of the way.
And Ben, how about you, buddy?
I ate a lot of meat and cheese and drank a lot of wine. So
you sound like the most American person I've ever talked to in my life.
It was more like French or Italian. French, Italian.
Yeah.
But I did it like the American way. I only did it on, Thursday. So
Really? Only Thursday?
Yeah, I was gonna make another charcuterie board and then I forgot.
Oh, so just the meat and cheese on Thursday. I'm sure the wine didn't cease on Thursday.
No, yeah. Everything else, yeah. But the charcuterie, yeah, one day.
Yeah, I mean, when one has family in town and there's football to be watched, drinks will be had. So totally understandable. What were we sipping on this weekend, Ben?
A lot of Bordeaux. I'm a big French red wine fan. That's
I mean, when you got the meat and cheese played out, you can't go wrong with a nice Bordeaux, right?
No.
Yeah, I'm like a clean Italian. I really do like European wine. I do think generally is better. Like, I hate to sound like that, but I am a believer. There's like a real buttery. There's a buttery, that oaky taste of like all the California stuff. It's kind of like too rich and it becomes heavy. And we don't really need to get into it because we're really not that pretentious of a podcast. We basically fart into the microphone and talk about college football. But
we'll pound in
I gotta be honest, I love Italian wine. Yeah.
A little Chianti.
Chianti with some farva beans, right? All right, boys. Well, I'm glad you guys had a good Thanksgiving break. Mine was good as well. I followed Ben's advice. I went ahead and smoked a turkey. My turkey was looking like Jose Canseco out there, though. I injected with some Cajun butter. I threw some bacon fat all over it, threw some compound butter underneath the skin. That thing was juicier than ever. It was looking like the 90s baseball players for sure. Ben, I know you smoked a turkey. What was yours looking like?
So I spatchcocked it. And whenever you spatchcock it, like the wings kind of fold in and make it look like it's like, hiding itself. It's like, oh, don't look at me. No, it came out good. It sucks because like I did the Alabama white sauce again. And I'm still trying to figure out the consistency of that. I literally went on a mayo hunt for like 3 hours around town. Couldn't find the mayo I needed. Went with it's called like Hellman's back east. I don't know what you guys call it here.
It's Hellman's. Yeah, it's Hellman's.
Yeah, we have Hellman's.
Yeah, it's too thick. I need a thinner mayo.
You need some Dukes.
I was looking for Dukes. I couldn't find it. I legit drove all over town looking for it. But no, it came out pretty good. I ate and then fell asleep immediately for 4 hours. So that was a lot of the wine.
Yeah, that and the tryptophan, right? That'll definitely dig you a hole that you can't climb out of for sure.
I woke up and my sister and brother-in-law were gone. I'm like, what happened?
There's nothing better than that, man. It's like jumping in a time machine,
Yeah.
Just bunch of things happening around you and you have no clue what's going on. That's terrific. That's awesome, man. Well, hey, we left off the podcast with our World Cup preview. We were graced with some great co-host. Ben was not one of them. He does not indulge in the world's game. He chooses to watch the other game with Nets. and it's not basketball. But we got some great advice and some great analysis from Mr. Matt Hesse, Mr. John Sanchez. So we thank those two gentlemen for that. And while we were out, the World Cup has been in full swing. The group stages are nearly over. They should be over within the next couple days. The U.S. is actually advancing. Yes. The youngest team in the tournament drew with Wales in their first game due to an unfortunate penalty by Walker Zimmerman, and then proceeded on Black Friday to whoop ass and take names against our cousins in England. They controlled the match from whistle to whistle. Was really impressed by the young lads. And then today took down Iran 1-0. Henny, I know you watched a little bit of the game. I think you watched most of the games, right? What were some of your thoughts?
Yeah, I've been trying to watch as much of US as I can, given that, some of this also happens during working hours, so it may be kind of on the side or I have to get to it later. But dude, I'm just really glad to see him get through. Like, I mean, it's, I'm just classic idiot watching that doesn't really pay attention, and I'm like super impatient with all of it. I'm like, dude, just kick it in the goal, man. Like, I mean, I'll never get over it. And like, I know this is like whatever, and you can call it nuance or what, but I'll never get over like the fact that these guys, what do they don't like practice, they train. So they train all year. And then like when that moment comes, they like just sling the ball. Like they kick it 25,000 feet over the net. And I'm just like, you suck. Like, I'm pretty sure you suck. And so, like, and you might not suck, but like, I just really have a hard time getting over that. So, I just, but I bide through it. I'm really glad they played well. Glad to get them through it. Iran's like such a weird matchup because of the political stuff that it was like just awkward. And then I'm like, just feeling for like the people of Iran and like, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't do this global. I can only do it once every 4 years. That's for sure. There's no way I could do this more often, but I'm really glad to see the U.S. advance. It's always fun to root for your country.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like today's match was kind of weird, right? Like, because we're playing Iran, all the stuff happening over there with like women's rights and all that stuff going on. And then you have their national team actually kind of acting out on that and kind of protesting it a little bit, even though they're being threatened by the government. Their families are being threatened. And the entire time I'm watching the game, I'm like, dude, fuck these guys, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, you're like, dude, man, I feel terrible for them. Like they're under immense pressure. They have to go home to a country that has threatened their families and all this different stuff. And like, not to get political, but it does suck. The atmosphere that kind of went into the game, especially before the game with the Iranian media kind of, really just being pieces of shit with like Greg Berhalter and Tyler Adams, bringing like race into it and like bringing the political situation into like a press conference about the game. And it was kind of a shitty atmosphere, but focusing on the game, the boys played well. Christian Pulisic gave his right nut for a win. And there's nothing more American than that. It was a wonderful game. I've been super, super impressed with them because they are the youngest team in the tournament and they are playing absolutely fearless. That back line, shut up, Ben. That back line, the defense has been playing incredible. I mean, they've only allowed one goal the entire tournament so far. Now they go up against a team in the Netherlands that they're in really good form. They're playing really well. Cody Gakpo is playing out of his mind. I mean, that's one man's opinion for sure. And you're probably right. I don't want my U.S. bias to come through. I know that you're a terrorist, Ben, and you hate this country. But but in all honesty, yeah, you probably are right. The Netherlands are the more talented team. But I will say this, and Henny, you can correct me if you want. This team does have a little bit of like team of destiny to it. I'm not saying team of destiny where they're going to win the whole thing, but I think they're going to go further than a lot of people think. That defense is playing incredible. The midfield's playing incredible. If they can find a way to manufacture more goals, which is, it's ambitious to even imagine that, I think they could surprise some people on Saturday. But I've been really impressed with it. It's been super fun to watch. I know I'm the only one on this podcast that is watching any of the other games, but the entire tournament's been a lot of fun. It's been really topsy-turvy, a lot of upsets, Argentina losing to Saudi Arabia, just a bunch of different scenarios unfolding. A lot of these teams that nobody thought had any business even winning a game are potentially advancing into the round of 16, or even, just fighting for their lives at this point. They're not even eliminated. So it's been super, super fun. Ben, I know you don't care because it's not a puck, but Henny, like, are your thoughts pretty similar to mine?
Yeah, I'm hoping they have a magic run. Like, it's hard for me to like watch them and know because like I don't get a sense of, that's why I'm the dumb guy in this. But like, so I don't get a sense of like, the momentum of like, is this really working? Like, it seems like some people are kind of annoyed with like what the coach is doing in terms of whether it be
Substitutes and
substitution
stuff.
pattern, yeah, exactly, kind of the talent on the field and some of those issues. But we're not in the room. It's hard to say, and it's a weird environment and whatever. But I'm just glad we're playing now. Like the Netherlands, like we can make fun of them, right? Wooden shoes and windmills and whatever. And there's like no political torment to feel. You don't have to feel bad about it. Just make
Yeah.
the jokes. Laugh at their orange uniforms, and we can kind of go back to just like friendly banter between countries. So that part's nice. I'm just looking forward to that.
Yeah, and there's a lot less stress, right? Because you're not in a group stage anymore. It's not like you're looking to the next game. You really can just focus on the game in front of you. And hey, if you win, you advance. If you lose, hey, good job at least getting to the elimination rounds. And with this team specifically, with them being so young, this really is just kind of a sneak preview to what could come in 2026 when the games are being played in North America. Because this team is so young, so full of potential, so much talent, that they're only going to get better. And it's been a hell of a lot of fun. I know this is kind of like this happens every 4 years where everybody kind of remembers that soccer is a thing. It's not just something you play on FIFA. And it's really cool to see, at least from my point of view. I know there's a lot of dickheads out on social media that like to make fun of these people, but I think it's awesome. Even people like yourself, Henny, that, every 4 years you'll get a little bit into it and, you get a little bit passionate about it because it is your country. And it's a hell of a lot of fun to go up against other countries and have a little bit of patriotism and competition at the same time, without it being a fucking world war. So I'm all about it. I love it. I know, Ben, you have your own thoughts, but who knows? I guess we'll just watch the Olympics when it comes to hockey. So
I mean, don't
outside of
disrespect the
that,
worlds like that.
what'd you say?
Don't disrespect the worlds like that, dude.
Is that a thing for hockey? I didn't even know.
Yeah, yeah, it's a thing. Oh my
Oh,
gosh. I'll tell you
yeah.
what.
No one knows.
The-
Ben, no one watches that. That's not. You didn't have like. Yeah, you're not pulling a fast one on us, buddy. Nice try.
Ben, I would be shocked if
That
you
does
even
not
watched that.
exist.
Okay, I'll tell you one thing, guys. You're talking about people on social media getting mad that people are fake fans. That'll never happen with hockey because real hockey fans just want to watch the sport grow, and that's me. I'm a real hockey fan, not one of these
Yeah,
pussies flopping around on a soccer field, whatever. But it is what it
that's how
is.
I feel about footy, bro. I love seeing the game grow. I love seeing people get passionate about it, and hopefully it translates to
hmm
people
I can't,
watching some Premier League or something. I
I
don't
can't
know.
get passionate about a game that ends in a draw. We're sitting here and we're like, the U.S. did it. They tied, and then they tied, and then they beat Iran at soccer. It's like that's embarrassing. If we're dominant at every other sport, I want to see us win, 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 and like go on. Like that's not like, oh hell yeah, we tied the English. Dude, that sucks.
Well, I will let you know that the English have never beaten the U.S. They've drawn twice and we've beaten them once. So we still have the upper hand on the Brits ever since 1776. So you can take some solace in that, pal.
We're
Damn
kind of
straight.
mid in hockey, though, right? We're kind of mid.
We're not mid. We
Like,
are second best.
I
So
mean,
mid.
That's
only
like
three teams medal. That sounds like the middle.
If you're not first, you're last.
all right. You guys don't even know. Dude, world hockey is actually good. Canada is obviously the dark horse. U.S. is always better than Russia, which hey, that's the best. But you got Sweden's amazing, Finland's amazing. Honestly, Slovenia is amazing. Slovakia has been really good, but whatever. That's another
The Czechs can
conversation.
dump pucks.
The
Nothing
Czechs
gets
can
me.
dump pucks. The
Listen
Danes
here,
are good,
dude.
dude. It's a
I know.
good.
Hey, I know. Look, I will honestly watch some international hockey, but that's why I'm surprised that you can't do it for. I'll just say that. Like, I'm just surprised you can't do it for soccer like once, just
Because
every
you
4 years, just kind of
tie.
like.
Why should
Yeah,
they
and
do it on the
I don't like, dude. I
tie?
don't like that either. Yeah, I don't like it either. But I'm just saying that But then also like in hockey, like regular season now, it's like everything's a shootout. That's also stupid. Like what a stupid concept. It's a circus every night. Bring out the clown. Let's fling the. That's a ridiculous way to settle something too. So like all these things have dumb little quirks. Like NFL overtime sucks. Like there's a bunch of stuff
Yeah.
that sucks.
And I will say this, Ben. The draws only happen in the group stages, which adds to the drama because you only get 1 point for that. So you don't want to draw. All right. So it's not like
It
people are happy to draw.
it had me glued to the TV. I'll tell you what. Knowing we drew twice, that was exciting.
Now maybe you pick it up, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if maybe because it's elimination round and like there are no draws,
No draws.
if it's 0-0 or tied at 90 minutes, then we go into overtime or we go to shootouts, which I know you love shootouts. So,
what kind of
you
odds we
know,
getting for like a 90-minute tie?
well, there are no 90-minute ties anymore because we're in elimination stage.
No. Well, so in hockey you can bet
You could,
60 minute,
yeah,
60
you
minute
could
no
still
way.
bet it. I'm sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what
Oh,
it'll
yeah.
look like because
I don't know. Yeah,
I'm not
that
versed,
much.
but yeah, you should be able to bet it. Yeah, for sure.
All right, I'll bet
It's been
that.
looking like plus 250 on those draws most of the time, and that's like on the full, I guess the full draw. So I don't know what you would the full Monty. I'm not sure what I'm saying now, but
Yeah, Ben, you actually might have lost out on some money, pal, by not actually caring because
No,
if you
because
would have,
I tried parlaying it. I thought for sure I had a guarantee winner. I had, I picked four favorites to win in regulation, and guess what? Three of them won, and the U.S. drew against the Welsh. So I lost. I should have won like $400 from that.
I mean, I get that. Believe me, I do. But now going forward, you can just bet straight money line or not even money. Well, yeah, I don't know
Now I'm
if I
rooting for
would.
ties. Now I'm rooting for
Yeah,
ties.
I don't know if there
Despite
are
you
ties.
guys. Well, regulation ties.
So I'm looking at it right now. A tie at 90 minutes
No, give
for
me
Netherlands USA
Yeah, what is that?
is plus 240.
Yeah, I'll take that.
yeah,
US winning is plus 333.
No, give me the regulation tie.
I mean, I don't blame you. That defense has been sturdy, so that actually might be the bet. Can we get Ben Crown over to watch soccer if it just means he's just gambling on it?
Well,
That's fine with me.
It would help if they didn't play the games while I was working and managing 18 people. That would be helpful.
Yeah, I don't
it does
actually,
make it tricky.
with it being in Qatar, that does kind of fuck everything up. But this next game's at 8 a.m., so maybe just push your huddle back another 30 minutes and you can catch the first half and just bet the first half tie.
Ooh.
Oh,
What are those odds looking like?
I don't know. I have my app open right now.
Yeah, let me
They're
know,
not
let me know.
even. Let's see here. First half tie plus 100.
Yep, on it.
Okay. Huddle's
Yeah.
being pushed back. You can thank me later. Team Crown over. All right. Cool. All right. So outside of that, last week was a really fun week, at least for two of us on the podcast. Me and Henny were glued to our TVs watching the Wildcats. The basketball team went down to Maui and whooped ass and took names. They beat 3 ranked teams and are now ranked number 4 in the country. Absolutely incredible because, Henny, what were they ranked before? Like, were they even ranked?
14 range. Yeah, we jumped from like 17 to 14, I think, and then I think it's like 10 spot jump there.
It was quite the jump for sure, right? And like the team played great. They scored a shit ton of points. I was talking to a friend at work, and I was like, it's crazy to watch this team playing with all these Euros and all these world players, and they just run down the floor. Like, it's insane. They just shoot all the threes, running down the floor. And I'm the guy that watched Sean Miller for a long time, where most games would end in a 48-42 win. And now I'm watching this team beat teams like 101 to like 94. And I don't give a shit about defense. I'm loving all the points. It was incredible to watch. We ended up beating Cincinnati. We ended up beating San Diego State, who that's kind of a rival to our basketball team. I feel like we play them every couple years, and it's always a fun game. And then we end up being Creighton by a bucket. Henny, what were your thoughts on the tourney? Because I know you had your eyes glued.
Yeah, man, I just love to see like you. I mean, look, the style that Tommy Lloyd has employed is fun. It's a way more fun watch if you've been watching Sean Miller basketball. It's a hell of a lot more fun. They're getting up and down the court as you mentioned. Everybody's touching the ball. They're moving the ball really well. Umar Ballo comes out and has his coming out party. That's been a guy that like I think all fans probably like already loved on, and but just to see him shine like that was super special. And I'm really just kind of in this position with this team where I don't really know who the guy is, and there might not actually be one. It could just be a group of guys. I've kind of been like an ongoing conversation about who's best. I tend to like lean towards Pella in terms of just having an NBA. Like when I say best, to me, I'm like, who's going to actually play in the next level? I don't really like care about like if this guy goes and plays for Real Madrid. Like that's really, I mean, good for them. Like I'm happy for their career, but I don't really have any interest in projecting that.
Right.
So Pella, I kind of look at, but I mean, other than that, man, it's just like the kind of the fun conversation about whether this is really sustainable. I mean, we don't know. Like the thing is that stinks with Arizona basketball is. I mean, I think the good news is we're back to, hey, our season begins in March, which is the shirts I remember walking around on campus in 2002, right? Like, we don't give a shit about the regular season. Like, only thing that matters is if we win in the tournament. I'm hoping we're back to that, but that's the problem. We got to wait till March to really know what all this means and to see if they're tough enough, if they can defend enough, if they can find a guy to get a bucket late, if some of these other guys will develop to help build that bench. So there's a lot of discussion to be had still, but it was awesome. I mean, it's great to go win in Maui. That's a big time tournament, and those are some big time programs that they ran through there.
Yeah, totally, man. And I know you and I were texting quite a bit like during the games, and I think we both were saying, right, like most of the guys on the team are 4-year guys, 5-year guys. And for me, like I love the one and dones because like they're athletic as shit and like the talent is there, but they're not always super good. They're not always fun to watch for extended periods of time. And like these guys just play as a cohesive unit, and like watching Tubelis develop again and show what he showed for most of the season last year before the tournament. Like he's back, he's playing great. You mentioned Umar Ballo, like that dude's just rumbling and stumbling down the floor and dunking on fools and blocking shots, and now he has a little baby hook, and that's fun to watch. But you're totally right, dude. Like this team, we're not going to know really what they're capable of until we'll see a little bit of it in conference play because the Pac-12 to me is still a powerhouse because you have UCLA, you have USC, you have some tough outs, definitely, Oregon in the conference. We're going to see that. They're going to play Tennessee on December 12th. That'll be a really fun game too. But you're totally right, dude. Like the regular season, I'm not worried about. We're going to fly through that. We'll make the tournament. I don't care if we're a number one seed. I want us to be, but like we're going to get in there one way or another. And then that's where it starts. And hopefully this season they can get into the tournament and play a little bit tougher and just keep scoring all the points, because that was our issue last year as we started playing Big 12 teams and other conferences, and it became a slugfest, and, Tommy's system just didn't really fit it. But hopefully, we're a season ahead. We're a year older. Hopefully we come back a little bit tougher and a little bit more focused. But man, the boys look good. The boys look really, really good. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, they look awesome. And like, I'll just say this too. Like, I mean, just because I want to say it because we're going to talk about Arizona basketball, I'm sure, again. And I just want to remind you, is like, we're talking about it. I just hold Arizona basketball to the highest possible standard. So any criticism I'm holding is like literally the Final Four and like beyond standard. Like, that's the only standard I'm holding them to. As
They're
far as
blue
like you said, they're going to cruise through the regular season. This team is going to be fun to watch. They're going to score a ton of points. But the problem that everybody said was the problem at the end of last year was that they're really athletic and tough enough when they got pushed around by Houston in the Sweet 16, and they lost 3 first-round guys to the NBA draft, or 2 first-round guys and a second-round guy early. Those guys didn't come back. They didn't replace those guys with other first-round guys, so they didn't get more athletic. They might be more cohesive. They might be a year older, a year tougher, but they're not more athletic. So that's just really the thing that like lingers for me, and I'm just hoping it doesn't bite them. But you just never know. It could be totally matchups driven. We may never see a really athletic team. We see a bunch of Creightons, and I think we're the best version of Creighton there is.
Yep. And, the rest of the college basketball atmosphere, like a lot of top teams have been losing, right? We saw a lot of upsets. We saw Colorado beat like Tennessee and then lose to a no-name team. The rest of the teams in the league are topsy-turvy, and it was just really cool to see, our Wildcats go out there and play a cohesive form of basketball and look just as good as they did last year. I'm not saying they are as good as last year, but it's nice to see that, Tommy Lloyd has these boys ready to go as much as he did last year. So super fun basketball week, but that's not where the fun stopped for our Wildcats. It was the Territorial Cup week. ASU came into Tucson. John, I know you had your heartstrings were tugged a little bit because ASU's quarterback was somebody you coached at Marana High School, and he played a hell of a game. But the Wildcats came out on top due to 5 turnovers and a hell of a running game. What were your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I mean, just one, Trenton Bourget, great job, buddy. Like, so cool to see him like in the top 5 passing yards of that game all time. Like, it's going to be fun to see his name on lists for years to come. Like, guy was awesome. He balled out. He kept ASU in the game, the entire day. That said, my heart was still definitely leaning towards like, man, I just can't watch these guys win, and like, I don't want to have to like, this has got to be the Cats, and I'm just glad. Sanu is, if I'm saying that right, and I might even be butchering that. Who playing at Mike, who is like just absolutely flying all over the
Manu.
field, making Manu. Thank you. I was like, I
Yeah.
know I'm not doing that right, but I know Mohamed Sanu was a trivia question that I answered recently, so that's what happened there. But Manu was flying all over the field, making just enough plays. So that was really nice to see some of the guys on the defense step up. Like offense was like super awkward and weird, but like all of it was stressful. All of it was ugly, but it didn't matter because we got off the freaking schneid. We are no longer a part of that losing streak. And I'm just so happy to see that Arizona State is in the dumpster. They're in the basement, and we are not. We're somewhere in that middling whatever, and it's never felt so good.
Yeah, dude, 5 years was a long time to go without a win against ASU. When I was in college, it was like every other year we were winning that game, right? Like we would just go back and forth, back and forth. So it was good, like you said, to get off the schneid. Hell of a game. Jed Fish seems to have this program in a good place. A year removed from having a top 20 recruiting class, which I know Ben's going to laugh at that being a Penn State fan, but that's huge for Arizona. And from what it looks like, the recruiting isn't stopping. I know they're going to hit the transfer portal pretty hard. And I think we've seen enough to know that Jed Fish is at least a worthwhile head coach and probably the best coach we've had, at least since Rich Rodriguez. Not hard to do when you have Kevin Sumlin in between there. But I'm excited with the trajectory of the team. I know you are too, Henny. So hopefully we keep seeing some improvement from the boys.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited about the young kids that are around and the momentum created around the program. And, now it's just about finding out what's next for Jed Fish. Like, is he just that guy that kind of gets us to that middling level, or is like there's still more in the tank? So I'm excited to see, man. It's just fun to be excited about that. I mean, I know we had kind of talked on the side about, I'll just say it right out here. Like, I wasn't sure about Fish. I wasn't sure about Tommy Lloyd. I'm still not 100% sure on either of them, right? And depending on how you want to look at it or the context of which you want to discuss it. But I'm happy about both programs. Like, I genuinely am. And like, I'm never rooting against them. I'm glad it's going the way it's going. I'll so happily be wrong. If we can somehow get to a Rose Bowl or get back to the Final Four, any of those things, right? Like, I'm not here to get the takes right. I just want my teams to win. So when it comes to the Cats, could care less. Like, just glad to see us turning it around.
Absolutely, man. And Ben, I know you have some thoughts on the rest of the college football landscape, but first, you just had some futures cash, didn't you?
I did. I was right on a lot of things. I I gave out the Purdue over. Guess what? It hit. I gave out the Penn State over. It hit 2 weeks ago. And then I gave out the U of A win over, and that hit like 8 weeks ago. And they finally deposited it into my account. I also just want to highlight the fact that I did say 4 or 5 months ago that Purdue was my pick out of the West in the Big Ten, and I was 100% correct. I never had doubts for a second that they wouldn't rise to the top of that 7-way tie potential scenario.
That was madness. That was definitely throwing shit at a wall, and you're stuck,
It wasn't
brother.
shit at the wall. I just said a good team. I knew.
I
The
mean,
slander.
the Big Ten West, not the prettiest division in football,
No, it
but
sucks. I did pick it correctly, though.
you sure shit did, buddy. You sure shit did. And tell me, you got some cash from all those futures. What did you do with it?
Well, so I told you guys that my plan all year was to take my entire balance, and I actually didn't put my entire balance. I just put my balance from my straights. The futures are sitting there to play with, and I said I was gonna take it. I was gonna put it all on one single hockey bet, and if it hit, I was going to buy a smoker. I have two smokers currently: a Weber Smoky Mountain 22-inch, and then a Traeger. And neither one has wet my whistle when it comes to barbecue creativity for a while. And I've had my eye on this thing for 3 years legit. So after last week's games, I took my balance, and yesterday I put it all on the Leafs Red Wings over 6. Now, if any of you watched the game, that over should have hit easily. Guess what? It voided on me. The Red Wings went empty net for 2.5 minutes. The Leafs didn't even get one shot on the empty net, and the Red Wings didn't generate enough pressure to even score a goal. So yeah, that lost. Well, it didn't lose; it voided, and it came right back to my account, and I had to do the same damn thing over again tonight. I am a little embarrassed to say, but I didn't take the main line over, but I teased it down to 6 just in case the void, so I could torture myself for 3 days in a row. And I fired on the Flames Panthers over 6 tonight, and it cashed finally with 4 minutes and 22 seconds left. It was awesome. I feel so good. I'm going to buy a Gateway Drum 55-gallon holiday bundle special with grill cover, heat diffuser, hanging racks, everything. And it was, I started out the season, I only had $200 in the account, and I was grinding and grinding and grinding. Sometimes gambling's a grind, and I'm walking away with a smoker. $200 to get a smoker. I literally I increased my winnings by like 800%. So, I'm pumped. I'm on top of the world. So happy
I love
right
it,
now.
man. I love it, and our audience should be definitely tailing your picks for sure, because you've been right a lot more than you've been wrong this season. And that's why we have you on the show, Ben. With the season kind of coming to an end, we are, we're entering into conference championship week. We are going to be looking at the college football playoff, but as a whole, how did the season shake up for you? Did it meet your expectations? What surprised you? What were some of your thoughts on the season?
Well, it's funny. Like, you look at it and I was with you guys, and whenever you have somebody strongly convicted about something, like Josh Neighbor saying, "Hey, like TCU is not good," I'm like, okay. And, I ride with it all year, not all year, but for the first couple of weeks, I lose a bunch of money. Then I start tailing them and covering bets. I mean, TCU is the story of the year. Caleb Williams going to USC really changed everything for him. They were over machines. If you want to get into college football playoffs, I mean, I was very upset because last week I didn't get to talk about my picks, but I had good intel that Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum were going to be out, so I took Ohio State. But guess what? Donovan Edwards played and had over 200 yards rushing. And Michigan beating Ohio State back-to-back years. Harbaugh's a legend; he'll never get fired. They play a different brand of football. If anybody was like, "Hey, start of the year, our college football playoff is looking like Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and USC," everybody would be like, "Shut up, dude!" Like, they're like, "You're leaving Alabama, you're leaving out A&M." Everybody had A&M. And it made sense, right? Everybody was like, A&M was I think the second best odds to win the national championship, and they are a joke. Like, it was a crazy year. We had a lot of different things happen, but honestly, like, super excited. This is why college football is the best. Chaos is rampant, and TCU made it through undefeated. USC had the 1 point loss against Utah, and we almost got 4 undefeated teams. Honestly, like, if you look at it, like, we were 1 point away at the Utah USC game. Like, we almost had 4 undefeated teams, which is crazy. So no, it was an awesome year. Clemson struggled, Pitt struggled. I love watching ACC teams crumble. Miami was a huge disappointment. It was awesome. Everything went exactly how I wanted it to, besides Penn State losing to Michigan and Ohio State. But they went 10-2. Big rebound year for Penn State. Oh my God. Great. Everything was great.
I love it, man. Henny, what were some of your thoughts? Because I know you were probably one of the most excited people I knew for college football season.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Ben, right? Like, we just ended up with, I think it's cool that we ended up with traditional powers, but different traditional powers. So it's good to see, like, not that at least it's not the Clemson, Georgia, Bama. Like, we're going to shake that up in some shape or form. Now, they're still kind of lurking out there, and I'm not sure exactly how the playoff committee is going to handle these conference championship games. So, like, we're not completely out of the woods yet on that Alabama situation. They're just, like, lingering out there. Saban's out there, Farrell looking for blood. But it's nice to see. Like, it's nice to see representation from the Pac-12. So I really would like to see, like, USC. Like, I'm not going to sit here and, like, I don't go full SEC and just root for every Pac-12 team. But it is nice to see some representation there. Good to see them back in it. I was all over Michigan on Saturday, so I enjoyed every bit of that because I just felt like the smartest person on the planet all day. I was on South Carolina, felt great about that. So I'm just coming off a really hot weekend, honestly, where I feel like I nailed everything in college football in the NFL. So I couldn't possibly feel bad about it. But yeah, man, I just thought we had awesome storylines. Like, the Tennessee was fun to follow until it, the wheels came off that cart, but it was a fun ride. Oregon kind of getting back in there a little bit. Like, LSU with Brian Kelly is going to be interesting moving forward. So, I think the things we talked about at the beginning of the year, kind of like, not that we like got everything right or wrong, but like in terms of the storylines, like all of those things delivered, right? Lane Kiffin created his own drama again. We talked about him. It came all the way down to the Egg Bowl and our boy Mike Leach knocking him off to where, shoot, are we knocking him all the way to Auburn? I don't know. Eye emoji, a bunch of other cryptic, weird tweets, now he might ultimately be staying. But college football just never stops churning, man. And the cool part is the offseason will be just as much fun because we could start talking about the coaches too if you wanted to. But that carousel is already starting to grind. And we'll be talking about, 5 new teams next year of, like, should we be looking at Dion here? Is Lane at Mississippi going to work? What does Matt Rule do in Nebraska? So college football is awesome, man. It like Ben said, it just always delivers.
I should clarify that I'm not trying to look past the conference championship week, but the path is there for those teams to be in. That's what I just wanted to say. Like,
yeah, for sure. And I think there's an argument to be made that the teams that are there should be rewarded, but I just don't know how that's going to play out either. So I honestly just, college football might have more surprises for us still, but I'm with you.
Yeah, totally. And, we'll jump into the conference championships here in a minute, but like, Henny, you already kind of hit on it. We're already kind of in the full tilt of hiring season. You mentioned Lane. Everybody thought he was going to Auburn. He was trying to diffuse the situation. I think he probably was leaning toward Auburn, but he ultimately rebounded that into a contract extension at Ole Miss. So the fun goes on at Ole Miss for our boy Lane. I know he got bounced by our boy Mike Leach, but I think he has that program really churning and burning. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then you mentioned Matt Rule. He got fired from the Panthers. Definitely, I think, more of a college coach. He's more of a program builder, more of a motivator. Never been a huge recruiter anywhere he's been, but he's never been at a program quite like Nebraska. Maybe you can kind of make the argument that Baylor is that, but that will be a lot of fun too. And there's already been rumors. I know that the offensive coordinator from South Carolina is heading to Nebraska. and now you're already seeing the rumor mill churning that Spencer Rattler could
He's in
follow
the
him.
portal.
Yeah, which I
Like,
don't know how that works. I thought you could only take one freebie without sitting out a year, but I
he's
think
a
it's anybody's
graduate, I
guess.
think, at this point. So I think he
Ah,
doesn't have to.
okay. Well, Spencer Rattler may be coming back to the Midwest, playing at Nebraska. That'll be a lot of fun. He definitely heated up at the end of the season. Looked kind of like the Heisman favorite that everybody thought he was at Oklahoma, but he's still Spencer Rattler, and I still despise him. So I hope he does terrible. And then now we're hearing rumors of Deion Sanders potentially jumping over to Colorado. That's a weird one for me because that team is an absolute mess. They're devoid of talent on all parts of offense, defense, special teams, all over. I'm sure if he does move on over to Colorado, his son will follow him. He had a hell of a year in the SWAC. Are they in the SWAC? Is that the conference that they're in?
Maybe.
Yeah,
I feel
maybe.
bad, but I'm like, maybe.
We're gonna go with it. He had a hell of a year anyway, and then he's been bringing in 5 stars to that program already. We'll see what he can do over at Colorado if he does actually go there. I think he's probably parlaying himself to a bigger job. Luke Fickell did just leave Cincinnati to go to Wisconsin, which that's a huge hire. Kind of odd to me that he chose not to go to Notre Dame and wants to go to Wisconsin, but I'm sure Ben has some thoughts on that with it being in the Big Ten.
He's too skinny.
He's too skinny to go to Notre Dame, but he'll go
No. He's too
freaking.
skinny for the Big Ten, dude. He should have gone to Notre Dame.
I get what you're saying now. Okay.
We
He's
only
a hell
like
of a
fat
coach, though.
boys. We only like fat boys. Roll is welcome.
That's right. And Brett
Harbaugh's
Bielema
looking
showed
lean.
us that this year. So, yeah, Harbaugh is pretty damn lean. All that milk he's drinking. So,
The East is lean. The West
yeah,
is fat.
yeah, that's
True.
That's very true. You make a
It
valid
is
point.
true. Like, it's 100% true. It's like, that's accurate. Like, if you were just, honestly, if you asked a 4-year-old to describe it, that's what they would say.
It's true. Yeah. But hey, I think Luke Fickell could do some really nice things at Wisconsin. We'll see how he can recruit. Obviously, he had some pretty talented players come through at Cincinnati. That was more development and just really good scouting. But if you can do that at a place like Wisconsin and still pick up the 4 stars, I think they're going to be a hell of a program. But my original point being, I think Deion could even maybe go to Cincinnati or something like that, a bigger program than Colorado. I know that sounds weird, but Colorado is that much in the dumpster that I think Cincinnati would probably be a better pickup for Deion anyway. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think recruiting grounds make a big difference. Like, are
Yeah.
you gonna? I don't know. You got Cincinnati, where you get kind of the leftovers from Ohio State and Michigan, and even Penn State to some degree. Like, that's his recruiting area is still in reach with that job, where it wouldn't be with Colorado. I spaced out there for a second.
Colorado, yeah.
Yeah, like it's he's got guys from all over the country, honestly. But like, dude, it's I don't know. I think he's gonna do well.
Yeah, no matter where he goes, he's going to be able to recruit, right, Henny?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Although, Deion in Colorado doesn't make sense to me. I'm just assuming it, like you're saying, you're parlaying into something else. The Cincinnati job, I do think, is a better job than Colorado, just as a non sequitur. But then I think ultimately, like the Fickle hire to me is the one that's the most like. I thought the Matt Rule hire was a really good hire. We spent a lot of time making fun of who Nebraska would hire, and I think this is better than anything we made fun of. So
Yeah.
I'll give him credit for that. I think it's a really nice. I didn't think Matt Rule. I thought he was just going to collect his free money. Like, he had a year to sit out and like just watch TV or whatever and get paid if he wanted to, or go talk on TV and get paid twice. So I really didn't see this coming, and so I think that's a really nice hire for Nebraska. But the Fickle to Wisconsin really has like my antenna up,
Yeah.
and I will say if like Fickle hang around there, and if Matt Rule there, now the Big Ten becomes a little more interesting, and maybe that money can actually be spent on something, because we've been talking a lot about the Big Ten for a lot of nothing. But if those coaches go there and have an impact, then we might actually have a conference that's competitive throughout.
Yeah. Ben, what are your thoughts on that? Because obviously they're in the
Yeah.
West, but
Well, they're
if
going to
they
get
play
rid of the
well enough,
divisions. They're going to get rid of the
oh,
divisions. So it's going to be very, very interesting. And I apologize. I was blending Dion with Fickle there for a second, but Fickle at Wisconsin scares the shit out of me. Um, with what he does, that is like he is going to excel there. But no, with no divisions, I mean, you're talking about some really, really good coaches, some really good teams. Like the Big Ten, by getting Roll, who did an incredible job at Baylor. Who wants to live in Waco, Texas? Nobody. Um,
yeah.
Getting Baylor to where it was, and then
Post
getting
Art Briles too.
yeah, it's like I mean, Chip and Joanna Gaines are the only good things that ever come out of Waco, Texas. So
Well
like
done.
it's just crazy. Like those two hires immediately elevate the rest of the conference. And then you bring in UCLA off a great year. You bring in USC, and just doing unbelievable things with like Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams, who had an incredible season. Like the
Hmm.
Big Ten is very much poised to be even more competitive top to bottom than the SEC. I mean, you're still going to have your Northwestern Vanderbilt comparisons, but the rest of the conference is really fucking good, honestly.
Yeah, it really, really is. Have we heard yet, boys, when the UCLA USC thing is happening? Is that in like 2 seasons? Or can it be as quick as next season? I don't think so, right?
I think it's 2024.
Okay.
UCLA still got some battles to be had too.
Yeah, the Board of
USC is going to be able to
Regents.
walk, but like the Regent situation, UCLA does seem to keep. I'm not reading that story every time because I can't read it when they reprint it every 3 days. But that's interesting. I think out of the group though, the worst hire by far, Auburn has completely Auburned. Like,
Hugh
I mean,
Freeze
obviously Hugh Freeze is going to cheat. Like that's like that part will be fine. They'll get
on his
players
wife.
there, and he does. Yeah, and he does have players, and they do have he does have the backing of his former athletic director at Liberty, who was involved in the Baylor sexual allegations, all the stuff that they had going on there. So I mean, the guy's always surrounded himself with character people. And Auburn, I'm sure he's going to find just a bunch of clean noses. Nothing that could possibly get him in any trouble there. So Auburn has, like, of course, done the weirdest possible thing, and I assume he'll actually somehow win a national championship, and then they'll fire him. But that one's just like wild. Like Hugh Freeze and Auburn meeting each other is like just hilarious to me. Like I'm like, of course you did, Auburn. Like
Hmm.
they're so Auburn. I just love them. Like I hate them, but I like love them.
They are who they are, dude. Yeah, and with Hugh Freeze, I think there's even like at Liberty right now, allegations of like sexual assault within the program.
Yeah, that's why he went
So
back and defended the athletic director. So Auburn's already like cutting off Hugh Freeze's Twitter. He can't even
yeah.
have Twitter as part of the agreement because he already defended
Hmm.
an athletic director who was involved in the whole Baylor scandal, which goes beyond and beyond and beyond. That was like one of the worst ones ever. That's why. Yeah, I could go into the whole thing, but no one wants to hear all of it.
You know who,
Definitely a suspect hire though, for sure.
you know who's not getting enough buzz? Jim Mora. That's all I'm saying.
True. I mean, he completely turned around that UConn program. I mean,
Just
they were a
saying.
tough out.
Had to plug it. Had to plug it.
I know. I thought he was going to take the Arizona State job, but instead they just hired this local clown.
Yeah. I mean, do we want to talk about Kenny Dillingham? Like, well, all I'll say about Kenny Dillingham is, I do respect the passion he had at the press conference. You can tell he wants to be there, which good for him. I know that when U of A was going through their hiring stuff, he couldn't even get an interview to be the head coach of University of Arizona when he was the offensive coordinator at Florida State. So that's a little bit suspect, but I mean, he put on a hell of an offense while he was at Oregon. Completely turned around Bo Nix's career. And then where was he at before Florida State? It was an SEC school. I think he was at Ole Miss potentially. He does run a pretty good offense. Like I will
He's a
say
Norvell
that.
guy. He's a Norvell guy. So he's been like, I feel like everywhere Norvell's been, right?
True.
Was he in
Yeah.
Memphis too? I think he was, but
He was. Yeah, he was at Memphis as well. You're totally correct. pretty connected to the Valley, I think, too, which is a little bit scary for like Arizona because they've been really trying to take a foothold of the state and kind of put up some walls. So that's going to be a little bit of a recruiting battle. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. The last hire I did want to talk about is one that could be potentially happening. It's one that Henny brought to my attention a little bit earlier. Is Trent Dilfer to UAB? Which, Ben, I don't know if you hit UAB at all in your degenerate picks of the week at all this season.
I bet against them once this year, and it hit. So
okay,
I didn't pick on them at all to win it or cover or anything like that. But
okay, but Trent Dilfer could be the next coach at UAB. I was talking to Henny about it a little bit earlier. UAB is usually one of the better mid-majors out there. They did cut their football program at one point, but since then they've been a solid team, and I'm under the opinion that Trent Dilfer, he has a great football mind. I think he's going to be a fine coach. I always look forward to his analysis when he's on TV. I think he has a great grasp for the quarterback position for offense. So I will be very, very interested to see how he does at UAB once that hire is finalized, and just see how he's able to recruit. Henny, were your thoughts pretty similar?
Yeah, big Elite 11 guy, right? Like he's tied to all the elite quarterbacks in the country. Really, there's not going to be a kid that he does. Like he probably knows every potential quarterback over the age of 10 right now, which is obviously a huge advantage.
True.
So from that standpoint alone, if he's able to just even recruit, a couple quarterbacks, you get a quarterback, receivers will show up, a couple linemen will show up, a back will show up, and then it's just about scheming it up and winning. And I don't know, they might be a SWAC school too, which, by the way, I do know, we looked it up, Jackson State is a SWAC school. As to where UAB is, your guess is as good as mine.
I know Florida. Ben and I looked this up one time.
Oh, I don't know their conference. They're in Florida though, aren't they?
No, University of Alabama Birmingham is UAB. So
I've been drinking beer.
I was like, that one. I was like, no, just the conference. But I had to do that to you because it's in the letters. But yeah, I don't know. It'll just be interesting to see. But I am intrigued by that hire, like because he is like he's a football mind. He's been connected to the high school game. He's been coaching high school football for, I know, at least a couple of years now, when he's not golfing. So it'll be interesting. I do think he is a heady guy. I think he's a smart offensive guy. So I think he'll figure some things out and they'll score some points.
They are in the Conference USA, by the way. I just looked it up, which I know Ben and I looked this up like probably 3 weeks ago. So, excuse me. There's the sickness. Cool. But yeah, guys, some pretty interesting hires, interesting fires. Let's jump into what's coming up, though, right? We are going to have the college football playoff here pretty soon. We already mentioned the top four: Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and USC. If all those stay the same, obviously TCU has to beat Kansas State. Michigan, I believe you guys don't have a conference championship, right, Ben?
Yes,
in the Big Ten?
They do. They're playing Purdue.
Oh, well, they'll demolish Purdue. That's fine. Georgia has to beat LSU, which that shouldn't be an issue. And then USC has to beat...
Utah.
Who do they play, Henny?
Utah.
Yeah,
rematch. I got the
rematch.
lines and spreads here if you want.
Okay, go for it.
All right, so USC is a 3-point favorite against Utah. Obviously, they lost by 1 point earlier in the year. That was on the road. The over-under is at 66.5. Last game, I think, was at 78. And Utah money line is a plus 125 dog. I do think USC covers at a neutral site.
I agree with you. I think it's really tough to play in Salt Lake. That defense is good, but I know Utah is really beat up too. So by this point of the season, I think USC is going to take care of business. What about you, Henny?
The question here is whether or not really what I believe in the game. It's whether or not I believe the Pac-12 hates itself so much that they'll find a way to let Utah win this game. Because if I'm the Pac-12, I'm doing everything in my power to call a pass interference on Utah every time they even touch one of those wide receivers. Jordan Addison should be flying free. I like USC in the game, but I would just say the Pac-12, like we've seen them shoot themselves in the foot in this conference over and over and over and over and over again, and this would be no different. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I like USC too.
It is the conference of cannibalization too. So would be no shocker to see Utah pull it out. With that said, I still think USC is going to get it done, and then probably get beat by Michigan.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ben. What are the other odds?
Kansas State versus TCU. The line is at 2.5. Over under is at 61.5, and K-State is a plus 110 money line dog. By the way, I'm not giving you guys money line favorites. That goes against my principles. I would think. You know what's funny is like I look at this and I'm like, dude, I don't know. I feel like K-State might pull this out, but then I remember Martinez is the quarterback, and I'm like, nah.
Yeah, it's like, no way, right?
I probably
like, it can't be. I watched that guy forever. He sucks. There's no way.
The over is probably the play in this game. Over
Deuce
61.5
is
unbelievable.
Deuce Vaughn is a hell of a running back, though. And Taylor Martinez, as much as we want to make fun of him, he does pair really nicely with Deuce Vaughn because he can run.
Yep.
TCU losing wouldn't shock me, but for the sake of my knowledge overtaking Josh Neighbors' knowledge, I want TCU to win. With that said, if TCU loses, who do they put in that fourth spot? Ohio State?
That would piss me off. That would piss me off, dude.
Or does Nick Saban pull it out?
It's absolutely Ohio State or Bama, though. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But I think Ohio State's ahead of Bama right now, right? And neither of them have a game. So it should be Ohio State, right?
It should be.
So
that'd be great for the Big Ten. Great for the Big Ten.
Yes.
I hate rematches in the playoffs, though. I think that's bullshit. So come on, TCU. Don't fucking disappoint.
Well, at that point, though, Ben, wouldn't it be Ohio State and Georgia?
It would be, in theory.
Which would be electric.
So you got to figure that Michigan has by far the easiest game of any of these four. They should handily win that game. They do that. Maybe they jump a bad Georgia performance against LSU. Then you could get an Ohio State-Michigan rematch in the first semi.
That would be some madness.
Which would suck. I don't think that the voters would do that, though, unless Georgia barely wins and they're, like, dominated by LSU, which I don't really see happening.
Yeah. Okay. And then what are we looking at with Georgia LSU? Because LSU is just coming off a loss.
They are. The line is at 17.5. Over-under is at 51. LSU is a plus 650 money line dog. I would... I'm against it normally, but I would say under 51 in this one. Under 51 is my pick. I am going to pick these. So I'll just clarify. I'm going to take USC -3, TCU over 61, and then under 51 in the LSU Georgia game.
Okay. I get where you're coming from. I think it probably will be a low scoring game. In terms of just picking a winner, I want to pick Georgia all day, but there is that little 1% of me that is like, LSU did beat Bama. LSU outside of last week has not bad Bama, but not as good Bama.
Average
is that fair?
Average Bama.
Yes, which is very good. But LSU has turned on the Jets a little bit at the end of the season. Besides last week, they ran into an A&M team that has a lot of talent and finally put it together. So it would just be fun to have a close game, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that'd be fun just to push Georgia a little bit.
17.5 is a little too much for me in a conference championship in the SEC. That's why I'm taking the under. Because I feel like these games are so low scoring.
Especially for a team like Georgia that has easily had the best defense in the entire country all year. So it's going to be tough for Jalen Daniels to get out there and score on this team. Henny, I know you watched Jalen Daniels a lot when he was in the Pac-12. Like, what are your thoughts on this game?
I think that spread makes a lot of sense. I just can't see Georgia getting to this point in the season. Like, right, we had all the doubts to them in the middle of the season, but like they've gotten through it. There's no way that now with when the lights have been the brightest for Georgia, they have been at their best.
Yeah.
This is a big lights game. I expect Georgia to absolutely handle. I do think, to Ben's point though, like they could easily get a handle on this game and then just try to choke the thing out and just like get into the playoff healthy. So like I could see them just getting ahead early and then just like we're gonna run the ball and then we're gonna like pressure your quarterback and we're gonna beat you to death and we'll just win this thing 31-3 and we're fine.
Yeah, totally. So let's say that all stays the same, right? Going into it. Georgia would play TCU, Michigan would play SC. Let's start with the game that is a little bit more competitive. If Michigan and USC do end up playing each other, how do we see that one playing out? I'm going to start with you first, Henny, because I know Ben probably has a lot of thoughts about the Big Ten. I want to hear your Pac-12 perspective.
So, but if it stays as is right now, right? Do we not have is USC the 4 right now, right?
USC is
I
4,
thought,
so it'd be Michigan,
you're
TCU.
So it'd be
totally right.
Georgia. So it'd be Georgia and USC,
Okay,
which
my
I think.
mistake.
No, it's okay. And then I'd say then we have Michigan and TCU. So you're just asking basically about that Georgia USC matchup then?
Yeah,
Well,
let's
to-
hear it.
To be fair, USC beating Utah would be a better win than TCU beating K-State. USC could jump
So could they jump them?
TCU.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I wish they would
but
do that. So we
TCU
can
would
watch
still
it.
be undefeated, whereas SC would still have the one loss. So I don't
You're right.
know
You're
if they
right.
would
You're right.
move them
Yeah,
up.
you're right.
So
That plays into it too, for sure. I mean, if we end up with Georgia and USC, I think this is where you start. I mean, I just like Georgia in that whole thing, period. I think Michigan presents
Yeah.
an interesting opportunity in that whole group. I don't even think the Michigan TCU game is interesting. I'm sure it will be because TCU seems to have this little pixie dust on them and what have you. So I'm sure they'd be willing to give Michigan a good game. And I don't know that Michigan's so talent heavy out there past beyond everybody that they would just like blow TCU out of the water. But I do think like you would see Georgia smack USC, and then I think it's really just about Georgia playing a better version of what Michigan does, and I can't see how Georgia just doesn't come out of this. And I mean, the only thing that gave me any, Michigan, I like Harbaugh. I just know I remember him from the Pac-12, dude. He's just sneaky. He I felt like he didn't score on purpose until he had to, right? And then all of a sudden that USC game would hit and he'd flip that switch, and he's able to do that against Ohio State, and he's pulled that magic a couple of years in a row. But I can't see how he can like replicate that like game over game over game without having the type of talent that Georgia has. And so when I look at this group, I'm just like, this is going to be a really easy championship for Georgia unless you just get a absolutely ridiculous performance out of Caleb Williams.
And that's what I was going to like bring up, right? Because Caleb Williams has been, like Ben talked about earlier, like absolutely electric this year. And he's the type of quarterback, very Mahomes-esque, that he can go out there and make things happen. And with the receiving core that SC does have, because they're loaded, right? You could see the game being a lot closer than what you said, just smacking SC. I don't know if it will actually come down to that. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. But my only reservation being is that Lincoln gets to the playoff and he usually flounders. So I'm not sure what could happen. But I think it could be a lot closer than people think. But I do agree with you, Henny. I think TCU gets walloped by Michigan just because of a pure talent void there, right? Like it's not even close. And I think TCU reminds me a little bit too much of last year's Cincinnati team, where they rode a weak division all year, didn't get truly tested, and then when they go up against a big dog, they just don't have the dogs in the fight. Is that fair, Ben?
TCU is going to get demolished. USC is going to get demolished. We're going to have Georgia, Michigan in the championship. John was 100% right. Georgia is better Michigan. Georgia national champion. Put your money on it now. I don't know what the odds look like. It's probably like a minus 145, but like, just it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
and they're the one team, as you mentioned too, that are going to be safe. So like you're probably going to get better odds right now than before they officially make the playoffs. But there's no way they're falling out. So honestly, it's the best time to bet them. If you're going to bet them, if you believe it, just do it now.
Yep, I totally agree. And if Georgia wins back to back, they're going to be the new Bama. New dynasty. Kirby's got that team just firing on all cylinders, recruiting wise, on the field, everything. They are a fun watch. I know my brother-in-law down there in Georgia will be super ecstatic. So it would be pretty cool to see Georgia do it again and then see Stetson go off to the NFL, be a quality backup there. With that said, boys, we are coming up on the hour. I wanted to talk NFL, but I think we'll save it for next week. With that said, let's enjoy this week. Have a good conference championship week. We'll see what happens. We'll see if it shakes up at all. If it doesn't, we've already put in our picks. And let's just have some fun with it. It's been an incredible college football season. Our listeners, please like, subscribe, and share this podcast. Please rate it, leave a comment, whatever. Please follow us on all social medias. Twitter, John is killing it on there. And Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, we're all over the place. Please follow us there. Boys, do you have any parting thoughts?
Smoker time, baby.
Smoker time.
Yeah, I was like, I don't. I got nothing. Tiger's going to play in some events in golf in case you got that itch going. It sounds like his son's going to be out there. Charlie will be swinging a little bit. We're coming into that season. But that's it, man. Luka's still ball dominant, 500 player. If you love that, I know you folks love the NBA. Love watching Luka. But no, that's all I got, man.
Perfect. All right, guys. Again, please share, like, and subscribe, and we will talk to you next week. Bye.